This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Charlene.
Hello, I am Charlene Navaja, bringing you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, Philippine security forces have retrieved the cockpit voice and flight data recorders of a military aircraft that crashed in a coconut grove and killed 53 people now.
A smoldering plastics factory near Bangkok briefly reignited on Tuesday afternoon, hours after rescue teams brought the monster blaze under control in the early hours of the morning.
The UN rights chief warned that the dire situation in Myanmar since its February coup was driving the country towards possible civil war and could spark regional insecurity.
Half the population could be forced into poverty.
And ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi and her personal staff have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 since being taken into military custody, her lawyer said Tuesday as the country battles a spike in cases.
Philippine security forces have retrieved the cockpit voice and flight data recorders of a military aircraft that crashed in a coconut grove and killed 53 people now. Witnesses and survivors told investigators the plane landed hard and then bounced twice before taking off again, according to Lieutenant General Corleto Vinluan, Chief of the Western Mindanao Command. Then at the right side of the airport, it hit a tree. That is the account of the injured, according to Vinluan. Most of the dead were soldiers being deployed to the island, a haven for Islamist militants, as part of a counterinsurgency effort. 3 civilians who were not on the flight were also killed as the plane plowed through coconut trees and houses. And another 51 people, mostly troops, were injured, but the updated dead people now are 53. Many suffered severe burns when the 4-engine aircraft exploded into flames, according to Vinluan. The cockpit voice and flight data recorders, which are known as black boxes, will be sent to the U.S. for analysis. The CVR records flight crew conversations, and the flight data recorder holds information about the speed, altitude, and direction of the plane. They could explain what caused the C-130, which the military said was in very good condition, to crash in sunny weather. Sunday's crash was one of the country's worst military air disasters and the latest in a series of accidents this year. Last month, a Black Hawk helicopter went down during a nighttime training flight, killing all 6 on board. The accident prompted the grounding of the country's entire Black Hawk fleet.
And in a related news, Russian President Vladimir Putin sent his condolences to the families and friends of those killed in the C-130 military plane crash in Patikul, Sulu last July 4. The message was conveyed through a telegram dated July 5 to President Rodrigo Duterte, according to Kremlin's website. Dear Mr. President, please accept our deep condolences over the tragic consequences of the crash of a military transport plane on the island of Jolo. I ask you to convey my words of sympathy and support to the families and friends of the victims, as well as wishes for a speedy recovery to all the victims. President Putin wrote. Aside from Russia, several countries also sent their sympathies to the Philippines, including Australia, France, the United States, Canada, China, Israel, and the Netherlands, among others. In a July 5 statement, Dutch ambassador to the Philippines, Saskia de Lang, said, "I was very sorry upon hearing of the tragic incident last Sunday, 4th of July 2021, that took the lives of 43 military personnel and 3 civilians. We share in the grief of the Filipino nation, particularly with the bereaved families of those serving with the armed forces of the Philippines in this difficult time." She said, "On behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, I offer my deepest sympathies to the armed forces, to the family and friends of those deceased, and extend my wishes for the swift recovery of those who were injured."
Meanwhile, the Philippine Air Force denied rumors that the C-130H Hercules cargo plane that crashed in Patikul, Sulu on July 4 was overloaded. The said C-130 was not overloaded. It was well within the operational limits and capacity when it left Laguindingan Airport with 96 passengers compared to its maximum capacity of 120 passengers. And this is contrary to the circulating rumor that the aircraft was overloaded, according to PAF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Maynard Mariano in a statement late on Tuesday night. In a separate message, meanwhile, to reporters, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana urged the public to wait for the official results of the investigation on the incident. Mariano, meanwhile, said a scene of the crime operation or SOCO team is helping identify the bodies of the 12 fallen PAF or PAF personnel who were among the 96 passengers of the flight. He added that the members of the 220th Airlift Wing Aircraft Accident Investigation Board are on site investigating the crash of the C-130 aircraft with tail number 5125 in Holo.
And in Thailand, a smoldering plastics factory near Bangkok briefly reignited on Tuesday afternoon, hours after rescue teams brought the monster blaze under control in the early hours of the morning. Here's Crystal de Marupot. Crystal.
Yes, Charlene, good afternoon to you as well as to all our viewers. And here's the developing story of the Bangkok's factory explosion. A smoldering plastic factory near Bangkok briefly reignited on Tuesday afternoon, hours after rescue teams brought the monster blaze under control in the early hours in the morning. An explosion at the factory early Monday sent heavy plumes of black smoke across the city skyline, killing one firefighter and injuring 33 people. The blast occurred around 3 a.m. Monday at Taiwan-owned Minding Chemical Corporation, located on the outskirts of Bangkok near Suvarnabhumi Airport in Samut Prakan province. More than 1,600 people had been forced to take temporary shelter at 10 sites. The cause of explosion is still unknown. Authorities said the fire was brought under control at 4 a.m. Tuesday, but late afternoon, a blaze briefly reignited and thick smoke plumes billowed beneath cloud cover and rain, posing a health risk to people in the area. Factory manager Supab Mankong said it was likely there could be further flare-ups. Asked about the amount of chemicals left at the site, he said, "We do not know." He said an area of 20 to 40 meters has collapsed. Samut Prakan Governor Wanchai Kongkasam said about 53,000 people in 30 communities had been affected by the incident. The Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation said 15 cars and 100 houses were damaged. Authorities ordered a 5-kilometer or 3-mile around the foam and plastic pellet manufacturing factory near Bangkok's main airport evacuated as the factory burned, they told residents to avoid inhaling any fumes and warned that they could cause dizziness and vomiting and cancer in long term. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has ordered authorities to gather as much information as possible as contamination of soil, groundwater, and cities' drinking water and air so as to mitigate the health impact in both the short and long term. Meanwhile, Charlene, a fire at another factory broke out Tuesday evening in eastern Bangkok, with no casualties reported, according to Bangkok Governor Aswin Kwan Muang. The cause of the fire at the Floral Manufacturing Group Corporation in the Lat Krabang Industrial Estate was also not immediately known. And that's the latest news here in Bangkok. Back to you, Charlene.
Thank you so much for your updates, Crystal, and please be safe out there.
Yeah, likewise, Charlene, stay safe there in Vietnam. Reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Crystal Nicole Di Marucot, and we live in interesting times.
And we stay in Vietnam, and let's get the latest coronavirus situation there. Here is Micah Gwyneth Apostol joining us live. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Alma.
Go ahead.
Here's the latest news in Vietnam. Out of 276 local COVID-19 cases today in Vietnam, 270 of which are in Ho Chi Minh City. 232 of confirmed cases are in quarantine zones and isolated areas, while 38 cases have unknown transmission sources. The other 6 cases were detected in 4 other localities, such as Central Phu Yen, Dong Nai, which borders Ho Chi Minh City, and in Baria Vung Tau province, which is also near Ho Chi Minh City. An 11-year-old boy who had in contact with a COVID-19 patient is from Central Ha Tinh province. Since the new wave of infection started in April, most infections are found in Ho Chi Minh City, accounting to 7,655 cases. Local cases recorded since April reached 18,838 from 55 cities and provinces. Vietnam has inoculated more than 3.92 million against COVID-19, while 235,570 have completed jabs. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Please keep safe.
And back to the Philippines, where President Rodrigo Duterte has told Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo to take action on former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV's latest plunder allegations against him. Duterte made the instruction after Panelo slammed Trillanes' rehashed claim that Duterte and his former longtime aide, Senator Christopher Lawrence Go, used their influence to corner about 6.6 billion pesos worth of government infrastructure projects. Trillanes, in a video uploaded on YouTube, accused Duterte and Go of committing plunder over public works contracts won by construction firms owned by Go's family in the Davao region. He said construction companies owned by Go's family had won government projects worth as much as 6.6 billion pesos, specifically 1.5 billion pesos when Duterte was still Davao City Mayor, and 5.1 billion in the first 2 years of his presidency. He revived the plunder allegations after Duterte challenged Senator Emmanuel Manny Pacquiao to name and probe government offices accused of being involved in corruption.
Si Trillanes, President Pacquiao yan, they want to, hold power because they may nakita siguro silang magandang oportunidad nila para sa kanila.
Campo provincial governor has ordered district authorities to shut down all illegal wineries after 12 people in Kampong Tract District's Svay Kong Tangbong commune died from suspected wine poisoning. In Candel Province, 3 people are also believed to have died from tainted alcohol in Kimshak Candel District. In Kampot, Provincial Governor Chi of Tai sent a letter on July 5 to all district governors to suspend unauthorized production and distribution of wine which did not adhere to the proper standards. He said such wine posed a deadly risk to consumer health. Homemade rice wine is popular in rural Cambodia at wedding parties, village festivals, and funerals as a cheap alternative to commercially produced drinks. But there's little regulation of the informal brewers, and headlines regularly pop up of mass deaths from a single celebration or village event. Last month, at least 15 rice wine brewers and sellers were arrested, while the Health Ministry has renewed calls for people to avoid drinking contaminated beverages.
Sumali po kami ng PNA, mas lalong nagbago yung buhay po namin.
Nagbuhayan kami ng pag-asa na makasaya ulit ng sama-sama.
Gagawin namin yung best namin para makuha.
Lahat itatry namin para talaga makamit yung mga pangarap namin.
Ito na yung pangarap namin. Lalaban namin ito.
This program is supported by Magnolia Incorporated. Magnolia ready-to-cook fried chicken. Worry-free na on your next family meal. Yan ang alagang Magnolia. Pure Food Standard Juicy Hot Dog. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Food Standard Juicy Hot Dog. Sandig Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. PMAG Premium and ProTac Plus Gold. SMC Infrastructure and Skyway Stage 3 Citrus Central Expressway Corporation. San Miguel Foundation Incorporated. Max Pro Northern Cement. Lamang ka dito. Petron Corporation. SMC Global Power. San Miguel Aero City Incorporated. Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation. We think customers. We are IT Philippines Incorporated. China Bank, your success is our business.
The United States began sending Vietnam 2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine, the White House said in its latest assistance to countries struggling to tame the pandemic. The Moderna vaccine shipment, part of a first 80 million doses that President Joe Biden has pledged to allocate worldwide, should arrive in Vietnam this weekend, according to a White House official who spoke on condition of anonymity. The official said this is just the beginning of doses being shipped to Southeast Asia. 1 million doses went to Malaysia on Monday, and last week, the White House announced delivery soon of 4 million doses to Indonesia. Other regional countries in line for a share of the 80 million doses are Cambodia, Laos, Papua New Guinea, the Philippines, and Thailand. Communist Vietnam, which borders China, was initially seen as a model for resisting the pandemic through strict contact tracing and mandatory quarantines. Only 90 deaths have been reported by the government out of 21,000 cases. However, vaccination rates are extremely low in the nation of about 97 million people, and the last few weeks have seen infections rise sharply. According to the Ministry of Health, about 3.9 million doses of vaccines had been administered nationwide by Monday, with 226,000 people having received 2 doses.
And in the Philippines, where they are monitoring a development on the Lambda variant, C.37 of the coronavirus disease 2019, that is reportedly more than dangerous than Delta variant. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made this remark after Malaysia's health ministry announced that the Lambda variant, which originated from Peru, has been detected in more than 30 countries in the past 4 weeks. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, for his part, said there would be strict border control to prevent the new COVID-19 variant from entering the country. Let's take a look.
C.37 variant. Sa ngayon po, ito ay napag-alaman kumakalat na sa bansang Peru at sa 35 iba pang Latin American countries. Sa ngayon po, batay po sa submission ating Philippine Genome Center, wala pa po tayong na tukoy o na-discover na C.37 variant. Ito po sa 7,000 na sinequence ng Philippine Genome Center, wala pa po ito. Hindi pa po siya kinikilala ng WHO bilang variant of concern. Sa kasalukuyan, siya po ay isang variant of interest na ang mutation kanila pong nakilala doon po sa spike protein. Alam po natin, yung virus bilog, marami siyang mga spikes. Ito po ay spike proteins at doon sa dating natukoy na variant sa Delta variant, kaya siya variant of interest dahil they share closely the region of mutation. So, kaya kailangan talaga bantayan po natin dahil baka biglang maging variant of concern. So, ano gagawin natin? Patuloy na paigtingin ang ating border control, okay? Para makasiguro, hindi ito makalusot.
According to the WHO's weekly epidemiological update published on 15th of June, the Lambda variant has been associated with substantive rates of the community transmission in multiple countries, with rising prevalence over time concurrent with increased COVID-19 incidents. The earliest sequence samples were reported from Peru in August 2020 and as of 15th June 2021. Over 1,730 sequences have been uploaded to GISED from 29 areas in 5 WHO regions.
The Philippines has hit the 12 million mark in administering doses of coronavirus disease vaccines as of Tuesday, according to the National Task Force Against COVID-19, Vivencio Dizon. During a press conference in Clark Freeport Zone, Dizon said in the past week alone, the government administered 2 million doses or 12 million doses of vaccines or 2 million doses of vaccines nationwide. Take a look.
Kaya ito po talaga ay pruweba na tuloy-tuloy po ang paghampat ng ating pagbabakuna.
Government officials held the ceremonial vaccination for the A4 group in Central Luzon in the Clark Freeport Zone on Tuesday. Clark Freeport Zone alone has around 120,000 employees from 1,200 firms operating inside the special economic zone. With the delay in shipment of the Sinovac vaccine from China, Dizon said local government units were directed to prioritize administering the second shot of Sinovac jabs. The first shipment of Sinovac vaccine for this month is expected to arrive on July 18.
The UN rights chief warned on Tuesday that the dire situation in Myanmar since its February coup was driving the country towards possible civil war and could spark regional insecurity. Speaking before the UN Human Rights Council, Michelle Bachelet lamented that Myanmar in recent months has evolved from a political crisis to a multidimensional human rights catastrophe. Let's take a look.
Had been distinguished excellencies. Recent month, the situation in Myanmar has evolved from a political crisis to a multidimensional human rights catastrophe. Suffering and violence throughout the country are devastating prospects for sustainable development and raise the possibility of state failure or a broader civil war. As a coup by the Myanmar military has rapidly morphed into an attack against the civilian population that has become increasingly widespread and systematic. Nearly 900 people have been killed. Some 200,000 people have been forced to flee their homes as a result of violent military raids on neighborhoods and villages. The World Food Programme estimates that over 6 million people are severely in need of food aid. UNDP forecasts that nearly half the population could be forced into poverty by early 2022. A void has been opened for the most harmful and criminal forms of illicit economy to flourish. Since the 1st of February, at least 240 attacks on healthcare facilities, medical personnel, ambulances, and patients have been seriously disabled COVID-19 testing, treatment, and vaccination. Meanwhile, mass displacement and continued protests heighten the risk of contagion. The coup has exacerbated a number of long-running conflicts in Myanmar's borderlands. Fighting has resumed in Kachin, Kayin, and northern Shan states, as well as other areas such as Chin and Kaya states that had been largely peaceful in recent years. Military forces have repeatedly conducted indiscriminate airstrikes and artillery shelling, killing civilians, displacing tens of thousands of people, and destroying protected civilian structures such as schools and places of worship. Thousands of people have sought refuge in neighboring countries. Laws have been instrumentalized to stifle freedom of expression, curb independent media as well as social media, and arbitrarily detain at least 5,200 people. Over 90 journalists have been arrested, and 8 major media outlets have been closed. We have also received multiple reports of enforced disappearances, brutal torture and death in custody, and the arrest of relatives or children in lieu of the person being sought. Despite these levels of repression, the military leadership has not been successfully secure control of Myanmar, nor the international recognition it seeks. On the contrary, its brutal tactics have triggered a national uprising that has changed the political equation. But despair is rising. Some people in many parts of Myanmar have taken up arms and formed self-protection groups. These newly formed armed opposition groups have launched attacks in several locations to which the security forces have responded with disproportionate.
Since the coup, nearly 900 people have been killed, while about 200,000 have been forced to flee their homes, she mentioned. At the same time, at least 5,200 people had been arbitrarily arrested, including more than 90 journalists, according to UN numbers, while 8 major media outlets had been forced to close. Bachelet also pointed to multiple reports of enforced disappearances, brutal torture, and deaths in custody, as well as arrest of relatives and even the children of people sought by authorities.
Meanwhile, Indonesia said it was importing emergency oxygen from neighboring Singapore as hospitals crumbled under the weight of COVID-19, while the Delta variant wrought havoc around the globe. Take a look.
Dulu di tempat saya kan dekat ada, sekarang dari kemarin pusatnya udah.
The United States began sending Vietnam 2 million doses, part of a first batch of 80 million doses that U.S. President Joe Biden has pledged to allocate to countries struggling to tame the pandemic. But the World Health Organization said its global appeal to fund vaccines, treatments, diagnostics, and equipment was still $16.8 billion short, almost half of its total needs. In Indonesia, a nightmarish COVID-19 wave has brought hospitals to their knees, forcing desperate families to hunt for oxygen tanks to treat the sick and dying at home. Nearly 1,000 Indonesian medical workers have died of COVID-19, including more than a dozen who were already fully inoculated. On Tuesday, Jakarta said about 10,000 concentrators, devices that generate oxygen, were to be shipped from nearby Singapore. Some had already been flown in on a Hercules cargo plane. The government said it was also in talks with other countries, including China. Senior Minister Luhut Binsar Panjaitan said the country was bracing for up to 70,000 cases per day at worst.
Ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi and her personal staff have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 since being taken into military custody, her lawyer said Tuesday, as the country battles a spike in cases. Let's take a look.
အမေအပါအဝင်အမေ channel မှာရှိတဲ့လူတွေအကုန်လုံးကိုဗစ်ကို2ကြိမ်စလုံးထိုးပြီးပါပြီလို့ပြောပါတယ်ရှင်ကိုဗစ်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးအထူးသတိထားဖို့လည်းထပ်ပြီးပြောပါတယ်ရှင်အခုတော်တော်လေးကိုကိုဗစ်ကပြင်းထန်နေတယ်လို့ကြားရတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်စိုးရိမ်ဒီသူစိတ်ပူတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းကတော့ပြောတယ်ပို့ပြီးတော့မှအရင်ကာလနဲ့မတူဘဲနဲ့ပြင်းထန်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မို့လို့ကာကွယ်ဆေးတွေထိုးလို့ရရင်လည်းထိုးကြပါလို့မှာတယ်ပြီးတော့ဒီပို့ပြီးခရူးထိုက်နေထိုင်ကြဖို့ပြည်သူတွေချင်းချင်းလဲတယောက်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်အကုန်လုံးဒီကျမရေးအတွက်ခရူးပြရမယ်ဒီကန်တက်ချက်တွေတမင်ချက်တွေခရူးတစိုက်နဲ့ပြည်သူတွေချင်းချင်းလဲလောက်ကြဖို့ပြောပါတယ်
Suu Kyi has been all but invisible since being detained by the military in February, with a handful of court appearances in a special court in Nai Pia Dao, her only link to the outside world. Coronavirus infections are rising sharply in Myanmar, with authorities reporting almost 3,000 cases Monday, up from around 100 per day in early June. The impoverished country of 54 million is rushing to secure more vaccines after receiving 1.5 million doses from India and 500,000 from China earlier this year. She did not give details on when Suu Kyi, who is believed to have received a first dose before her government was deposed, had received the jab or what vaccine she was given. Around 10 people are thought to be living with the Nobel laureate, 76, in the house she is being held in, including personal guards and cooks. Suu Kyi was really worrying about COVID. In Myanmar, Min So added, she asked people to get vaccinated if possible. She asked we take care of each other and to follow restrictions and notifications. Myanmar's response to the virus has been hampered by a mass civil disobedience campaign that has seen thousands of doctors, volunteers, and civil servants to stop work to protest against the military. On Tuesday, Suu Kyi's legal team cross-examined prosecution witness in a case in which she is accused of sedition along with former President Win Myint and senior leader from her National League for Democracy Party, Neo Aung. The court also heard testimony on separate charges that Suu Kyi broke COVID-19 restrictions during elections last year, in which the NLD secured a thumping win, her lawyer Kin Mong Zhao said.
A Chinese city near the border with Myanmar has imposed a lockdown and started mass testing after 3 coronavirus cases were reported on Monday, with officials rushing to curb another outbreak. Now, it is the second time in 4 months that Ruili, home to more than 210,000 people, has been locked down after the discovery of cases imported from Myanmar. Ruili is a major crossing point from Muse in neighboring Myanmar, which has seen escalating unrest since a February 1 military coup, raising fears that people will try to flood across the border into China to escape the violence. One of the 3 infected patients was a Myanmar national, according to health authorities in Yunnan. China closed the main bridge and crossing to Myanmar in March as cases surged across the border. Authorities have also increased patrols in recent months to prevent illegal border crossings and crack down on human trafficking to prevent an influx of refugees. Ruili will test all residents for the virus within 2 days, and all non-essential travel will be banned until further notice, according to the local government. Only 1 member of each household can leave to buy daily necessities with permission during the testing period. Anyone who wants to leave the city must produce a negative virus test conducted within the past 72 hours, that according to the local government.
Indonesian Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi hosts bilateral talks with her Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Jakarta. The 2 ministers discussed cooperation in the sectors of health, education, security, as well as trade and investment. He also made a statement supporting ASEAN's position regarding Myanmar's political situation. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the Balan, the head of Indonesia Food and Drugs Administration, BPOM, visited Russia to directly observe the facilities for production of Sputnik V vaccine. Since the very beginning of the pandemic, Indonesia and Russia have worked closely to address it. President Joko Widodo and President Putin conducted phone conversation in March 2020 concerning the cooperation to deal with the pandemic. Regarding Myanmar, I again emphasize the importance of following up on the 5-point of consensus. This required the commitment of Myanmar military to cooperate with other ASEAN member countries to follow up the 5-point of consensus. And I had requested Russia to support the implementation of the
We are convinced, both Russia and Indonesia, that vaccines must be accessible for the entire international community, and we support respective initiatives of the United Nations, of the World Health Organization. We confirmed our readiness to closely cooperate with Indonesia also in bilateral context, including the possibility not only of supplying vaccines, but also to discuss localization of their production on Indonesian soil. We discussed the situation in and around Afghanistan and the situation in Myanmar. We reiterated our strong support for the ASEAN 5 principles, and in our contacts with Myanmar leaders, military leaders, we promote the position of ASEAN, which should be, in our view, considered as a basis for resolving this crisis and bringing.
The two ministers discussed cooperation in the sectors of health, education, security, as well as trade and investment. The two ministers also discussed recent situations in regions such as in the Middle East as well as Myanmar, where the two countries have agreed to promote association of Southeast Asian nations. 5-point consensus to address the situation in Myanmar, which was the outcome of the ASEAN summit on the issue held in Jakarta last April.
In other news, the Japanese government signed on Tuesday the 687 million yen, or approximately 308 million pesos, grant aid to provide the country much-needed cold chain transport and ancillaries for its vaccine rollout. Ambassador Koshikawa Kazuhiko signed and exchanged notes with Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. for the Japanese grant assistance called Program for COVID-19 Crisis Response Emergency Support to be implemented across the country, with the distribution of vaccines to the provinces a top priority of the Philippine government. The cold chain facility system will boost efforts in the nation's vaccination program. And this will not only ensure safe and efficient vaccines delivery, but also preserving the integrity and quality of vaccines, according to the Japanese embassy in Manila in a statement. Now, the signing came on the heels of Tokyo's announcement to donate 1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured in Japan. And according to the embassy, this is part of the 1 billion yen cold chain development assistance to the Philippines mentioned during the Japan-Philippines summit telephone talk between Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and President Duterte last May.
This program is supported by Magnolia Incorporated. Magnolia ready-to-cook fried chicken. Worry-free na on your next family meal. Yan ang alagang Magnolia. Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Sandig Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. PMAG Premium and ProTac Plus Gold. SMC Infrastructure and Skyway Stage 3 Citrus Central Expressway Corporation. San Miguel Foundation Incorporated. Max Pro Northern Cement. Lamang ka dito. Petron Corporation. SMC Global Power. San Miguel Aero City Incorporated. Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation. We think customers. We are IT Philippines Incorporated. China Bank, your success is our business.
Welcome back. The Japanese government is providing 329 million yen, approximately 143 million pesos, in scholarships for young and highly capable Filipino government officials who want to pursue a postgraduate degree in Japan. On Tuesday, Ambassador Toshikawa Kazuhiko and Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. signed and exchanged notes on the project for Human Resource Development Scholarship by Japanese Grant Aid or JDS for academic year 2022. The Japanese Embassy in Manila said the funding will cover a maximum of 22 JDS fellows consisting of young officials from different Philippine government agencies who will travel to Japan starting the academic year 2022 to pursue postgraduate studies. The project aims to enhance the JDS fellows' expertise in their respective fields and to help build a pool of future Filipino leaders who will contribute to the country's overall economic development. The scholarship offers 2-year master's courses at Japanese universities. Since 2002, the Japanese government has supported a total of 382 JDS fellows from the Philippines.
A defanged lion trafficked to an upscale neighborhood of the Cambodian capital has been controversially returned to its owner following the unlikely intervention of Prime Minister Hun Sen.
Đi chơi bên Lan rồi. Đi chơi bên Lan rồi. Có mà. Ôi bắt lần chưa? Bọn tôi chưa mà tôi chưa thì chuẩn bị. Bóng nghiện thì chứ mà. Con cho được 300 láng cho nó cho nó. Cho thay đi cho thay. Giờ tao mà. Bay. Giờ tao. Lá thế nào? Lá. Bắn. Đây.
Meanwhile, authorities are using a fire engine to spray water at people who violate new virus restrictions in the Indonesian city of Semarang. Take a look.
Kita ini sudah hari ketiga ya. Di PPKM darurat ada 27 yang kita segel ya. Berarti warga masyarakatnya kebangetan. Terus semua itu yang memang ada kerumunan langsung disemprot oleh teman-teman pemadam. Ya. Jadi saya matur nuwun, silakan nanti pihak camat kalau kesulitan undang kami, pasti akan kami tertibkan. Kalau tidak mau Semarang itu nanti tambah banyak yang terkena penyakit.
And here's a video courtesy of SCG Foundation from Thailand as presented during the 15th ASEAN Forum on Social Welfare and Development with the theme Strengthening Family Resilience and Solidarity, Braving the Adversity and Adapting to the New Normal, held on 21st September 2020 online.
ถึงทุกคนที่เจอวิกฤตไม่รู้เรื่องนี้จะจบลงเมื่อไหร่นี่ก็จะหมดปีละมันแย่ที่สุดในชีวิตเลยเนาะไม่รู้ว่าตอนนี้ทุกคนเสียอะไรกันไปบ้างแต่ยังไงก็อย่าเพิ่งหมดหวังนะเชฟวันเคยทำงานในภัตตาคารหรูๆก็ต้องปรับตัวมาหัดขายอาหารบนรถเข็นไม่มีผู้ช่วยไม่มีแอร์เหมือนแต่ก่อนตอนแรกแกก็เขินๆแต่แกบอกว่าไม่มีกินมันเขินกว่าพี่เติร์กเจ้าของบาร์ถูกสั่งปิดเลยต้องปรับร้านมาเริ่มขายกาแฟจริงๆพี่เขาเองก็ไม่ได้เดือดร้อนเท่าไหร่แต่ก็นึกถึงลูกน้องที่ยังต้องรับผิดชอบอยู่พี่นศพลเสียอาชีพช่างในเมืองไปแกบอกว่าเครียดไปก็เท่านั้นเรื่องมันเกิดขึ้นแล้วเลยคิดกลับบ้านไปทำสวนเอาความรู้ช่างมาปรับเล้าไก่ทำเป็นคอนโดไก่สร้างรายได้ดีกว่าฝ้ายแค่อยากจะบอกทุกคนว่าไม่ต้องกลัวนะเราทุกคนมีสิ่งพิเศษที่ธรรมชาติให้มานั่นคือการปรับตัวเราจะปรับตัวได้เองเรียนรู้ได้เอง
And that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you, Charlene, for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Alma. And before I go, I would like to greet one of Vietnam's EBC correspondents, Eliana Sebastian, a happy birthday. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. This is Charlene Navaja from your EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Happy birthday, Eliana. I hope you have a good and safe and blessed day. And thank you for joining us. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be